We are live. Anthar from Colombia. Hello, good day to you.
Hello, and good day or night to you all.
We are live. Anthar from Colombia. Hello, good day to you.
Hello, and good day or night to you all.
Yes, it is 10 o'clock in England and the night time, which means we have some friends coming in from Australia, where it's going to be 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. And what time is it currently in Colombia?
Well, here is 5 p.m.
5 p.m. Okay, yeah. So thank you so much to all of you for joining us. You're here with Nikki Luna.
Hello.
And Theo from Time of the Sixth Sun. And a very short notice, our good friend and brother Anthar has said, yes, I will come and do your live chat tonight, when Eshua Bolton could not do it for personal reasons. So he's going to join us in the new year. So thank you, Anthar, for jumping in at such short notice and saying, yes, I'll come on.
Thank you so much for inviting. I mean, definitely really honored and really happy to be part of this and to support the amazing work that you guys are doing out there. I think it's really important, and yeah, very honored, and especially very honored as well to know that you've been acknowledging the importance of translating your work into different languages. And recently with all this Spanish translation, everything that you guys created, and I feel is very important and really beautiful to be able to share it with people here as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It is really important, and especially Spanish, Yes. South America.
West Italian. I've got my brother-in-law here. Sorry. Yeah. So here in Colombia, unfortunately, didn't have being in the mountains, sometimes the signal is not very good. So I'm really happy to be here and to be able to do this. So thank you for the invite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome. Mm-hmm. So and people coming in?
Yeah, lots of people coming in already.
People.
Yeah,
fabulous.
We got 19 people joined us already, considering we've only been live a couple of minutes, 2 minutes. That's fantastic. So Clara is here. Hello, Clara. Thank you so much. Whoever wrote hello all, we can only see you as Facebook user. So we would ask if you can just go to the link at the top of this chat where it says, I think, streamyard.com/Facebook, and then it allows us to see your names in the live chat, because otherwise we can't. The only other thing I can do is I can go into this here and jump in this one. If I do that, is that going to click to expand? Will that open up the chat for me here? I think I can see. Yeah. Here we go. Loads of people coming in. Oh, great stuff. Yeah. We have Audrey. We've got Janice. We've got Annie. We've got Lorraine. We've got Denise. We've got Pamela. Amber saying aloha from Maui. So there you go. You're getting a worldwide audience coming in already, Anthar.
Lovely.
Let's start with how you two met, because I always find it fascinating, because Nikki tells the story that she did not start out with a list of people that she went out to know, I want to interview this person, this person, this person. It was more over the 11 years that where she was in the right place at the right time and happened to meet people that she thought would be fantastic for Time of the Sixth Sun. That's how you found them. So where did you guys meet?
Totally people who resonated. So of course Anthar resonated with me. He's a fellow sound healer. Mm-hmm. And we met at the Wasinga gathering 3-4 years ago now, a gathering in the UK. And I wanted to ask you what the importance was actually of these tribal gatherings. When I say tribal, I'm talking about our awakening tribe, a rainbow tribe around the world. What do you think, Anthar?
Okay, well, I think that time particularly was very important, because I remember that one of the purposes to do that gathering, when I was invited, it was actually about reconnecting people with your ancestral land from England in that case. And it was very ancient land, but obviously with the modern times, we know that most of the sacred sites and most of these important places of power, sometimes people just don't know that they are so powerful, and you feel it, you feel it. But this gathering in particular was about bringing people to acknowledge it and to sense and to recognize that there is an important wisdom that is like a seed that sometimes many people, and I hear this a lot when I'm in the UK, that people tell me a lot that you lost your wisdom is lost, it's gone. But actually, I have always seen it like it's literally like a seed. So you carry a seed, and the seed is there. The thing is that the seed doesn't speak because it's dry. It's waiting in a drawer, in a box or something. But as soon as you put water into this seed and you put it in the ground, then the seed becomes alive. And that's exactly the same process that I see when we, or all of us, good friends, like the ones who organize Wasinga, bring people to recognize this wisdom. I see it like it's the right water, it's the right water for the seed to just sprout. And people might not understand exactly what's been sprouted or what has been awoken, but certainly what they know is that something has happened and something has been deep. And I think that as long as gatherings like this leave people with that seed in their heart to think about and to make it grow and to think, oh my God, so I've been so interested into, without discrediting anything, but maybe sometimes people ask themselves, I've been so much into this philosophy, into this wisdom, into that. And what about when I ask myself, what is my own wisdom? And as long as we can plant that seed in everyone, I think it's a mystery that can bring so much abundance to these times, because that means unraveling the mystery of understanding what is native, where you are from. So what trees, what plants, what all these things. So I don't know, just maybe returning to your question, just and simplifying this, maybe just acknowledging that time for me was like, okay, I want to be part of that water, and if in one way what I can do coming from a different land is maybe share that this is what we do and this is how we do it. Maybe you ask yourself how your ancestors used to do it, and how lovely that your trees can hear the songs again of your ancestors, and your plants, your animals, your birds, the water, the mountains, everything. So it was beautiful, and that's how we met.
That's how we met. And I love that analogy about activating the seed. The seed is within, but we need to activate it. I love that.
Indeed.
That's something, a piece of wisdom that's going to stay with me.
Mm.
So whilst people have been joining us, Anthar, I wanted to wait until they did. Can you tell me, you come from the Hacaritama people in the Andes, in the north part of the Andes. And I was reading on your site, you say that this is a land where ancient warriors used to live.
Yes.
Beautiful. It conjures up so many things. Do you want to expand on that a little bit, my darling?
Yeah, this land, as you probably, many of you know, Colombia suffered a massive impact with the conquerors. We have different stories, different even prophecies and things like that we call amongst our people, and this is why many of us became what people describe as mestizo, which is a mixed between the Spanish people who arrived and the indigenous people of native of the land. So if we just returning to what I was saying earlier on, if we see, for example, when I go to the UK, and you're flying over the UK, and you imagine that once in one day, long while ago, it was a forest land that now is covered in square patches of crops and things like that. That makes you think that in the same way, when we think about our ancestors, that way they were also chopped off from the ground. I mean, most of the ancestry, most of the people were, some of them disappeared, unfortunately, caused by all that. And that's what happened a lot in Colombia. In this land, this was a land of strong warriors. In fact, in these modern days, some people who speaks about the people from these areas, they have this kind of little modern say that is an area of strong people, like quite not physically, but like quite, can be quite intense. And I think this is a result of the old days and all that. And the Hacaritama people were these people who suffered from the fights they had with the Spanish and all the process that probably most of the people here know, ending on a process of who we are right now, which is a mixture of history, and it's a mixture of many things that maybe we will talk through this sharing here, which means is all about yes, we suffered a big impact, but it's an impact that is not so old. Like, for example, in the case of Romans with the Celtic people, which we're talking about thousands of years. For us, it's only 500 and a little bit more years. But when we think about that, 500 and something years is not very long. I mean, if you think about grandmother being 90 or 100, and they think about 500, it's in that relativity is not really far away. And so yeah, many things were destroyed, many things were forgotten, but some of us are trying to do our best to keep cultivating that wisdom and that sharing, or that even more basic. I believe that all these things we talk about, like we call it wisdom, we call it knowledge, all these things, is no more than the simple understanding of how to take good care of our mother. That's all. It's simple, very basic. How to take care of nature, because then you have food. How to take care of the water, so you have water to replenish, to cleanse, blah blah blah. Simplicity. But obviously, because we live in modern times, all these things sound like they are from an exotic kind of film or story. But yeah, that's what I've been here, and the mother has been sending me traveling around for about 17 years, and sharing the stories, sharing views, sharing the ways we connect, and that's maybe the best way I could talk about my own people who, as I say in those words, they used to exist in that land.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a moment at that gathering 4 years ago where you talked really beautifully about sitting with the elders, and you were talking about territory. So right now you're talking about your ancestral lands, our ancestral lands, and traveling globally. Yeah. Would you tell me that you described it from the micro to the macro? And I love that. It's something that really carried with me. Would you tell me that story?
Absolutely.
Or tell our viewers that story?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I think that word that you just said, territory, is one of the most common words that we hear in the gatherings that we have here with the elders, which we call it mambeadero. Mambeadero is like a circle of word, which surprisingly for many cultures that I've been traveling, when they ask me what is the main medicine, I always say the main medicine is the word. That's how we transform, by just listening to the stories, listening to the elders, listening to the ancient music. This is what really sparks all the wisdom in you. And through all these mambeaderos, we spend sometimes many nights, sometimes we prepare some medicines on it. But the medicines are helpers for the journey, are good allies for our journey. And they have very specific moments, specific times, specific purposes, reasons. And when we do this word territory used to come, because from the beautiful side of it until the complex and the complicated side of it. For example, territory in this moment is a very delicate word in terms of like how our territory is being cared, and how others are wanting our territory for their own purposes and things like that. And that is the kind of chats that we will have. So let's say we sit, and then why do we say territory? Maybe because we say our people in the south of the Amazon here in Colombia, the Muinamurui people, they are being dying now, intoxicated by mercury caused by eating fish. That is the result of all this illegal mining that is happening, that is so massive. And they've never known this, and they're suddenly, that anybody knows here that if you start eating mercury, your life basically changed dramatically from being super healthy to completely a disaster in a matter of months. So that is the kind of reasons why we will see it, and then we say territory. So what's happening with the territory? Well, we're dying because we don't know why. So therefore we start talking. But then the story that you brought back alive is a simple guidance or guideline in order for us to very, very easily recognize that all those changes that we're trying to seek outside begin, and I know this sounds like a cheesy phrase, because unfortunately we live in an era with even wisdom becomes cheesy because it's so deep, but it's used so much in everywhere that then people don't even bother to listen to it. But something like, if we want to change outside, we need to change inside. And you say that to someone, here we go with the fairy stuff. It's true. When you really experience it, when you really live it, and you begin to understand. So, okay, maybe we don't understand sometimes because we're too busy with things. So that's like, what does that mean? So then an elder said, and this was because a question was given to him, and he said, well, the question was, okay, so we're talking about the territory. How do we take care of our rivers? And that is a deep question, because obviously the logical side of the brain will start just thinking, oh, well, we will go and clean it, and then we go and do this and do that. It's always about the doing. But then he said, open your palm and look at your hand, and look at the lines of your hand. And over there, you will start seeing your territory. And if you start expanding yourself and you start doing a little journey through yourself, you start discovering the whole territory that you are. So if you want to transform the territory out there, then start looking at this territory that you are and think and feel, how much are you taking care of this territory? Because if you want to take care of that territory, well, I need to start taking care of this whole territory that is me, right? And then when he says, look at a little cell. So a cell is a little tiny microscopic being that is our first community. It's our first community. We think about community as a big people gathering about beautiful things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when we go to the basis, the origins of community, then we'll go to the microscopic thing. And then the cell is made of like mitochondria, nucleoid, all these elements that makes it a cell. Without one of these elements, it wouldn't be a cell. It might be a dead cell or a bad cell. I don't know how you call it, but a cell, as we know it, has all these elements. If we put together cells with cells, they form blood. And blood, as it moves and it creates tissues, the tissues begin to get together, they form organs, then the organs get together, and then it forms a body. Then the bodies get together and form a family. Families get together and form a little village. Villages get together and form towns. Towns get together and form cities. Cities get together and form a country. Countries get together and form a continent. Continents get together and form a planet. Planets get together and form a solar system. Solar systems get together and form a galaxy. And galaxies get together and form the universe. So everything started on the cell. So simple. So if I'm only looking out there and thinking, how can I transform the wind? How can I purify the wind? Think, how is your wind, which is your mind, your thoughts, your dreams, your visions? That's what we need to transform. If I transform my wind, meaning the way I think, the way I envision, the way I dream my life, the way I think, then that is going to change. But people think, oh, that sounds too magical. No, let's put it in apples and things, much more simple. That means we change the way we think for a better way of being, for a more enhanced way, for the goodness of humanity, for the goodness of nature. If that's the way I transform my way of thinking, what do you think is going to happen? Well, my actions are going to change. And if my actions are going to change, the wind is going to change eventually, so the clouds, and so on and on. So this is why sometimes people see this knowledge or these metaphors as something too magical. But actually, when you go deep into them, then you can realize, oh my God, this actually is very simple. It's just something as simple as changing the way I think. The clouds will change. It takes time. But that's the process. We want to change here, and then we go outside and say, oh no, you see the clouds didn't change. That was rubbish.
It's just so beautifully put. It's a great metaphor and a really practical one.
Yeah.
Anthar. I love it. I've loved it every time I've heard you say that.
And if we imagine if we were thinking about the other stuff, just thinking about the 4 elements only, just as many elements and many things that we could talk about. But imagine if that's only the air. I just leave this seed there for those who are listening. If I change my way of thinking, I change the air, I change the wind, I change the clouds, I change the way it rains, I change the communication with the crops and the amount of rain and the amount of sun I need. So what if I was thinking about my own blood? Let's say about the water. So what if I was paying more attention to my inner waters and all it represents? So what is the water? So then the emotions. How am I with my emotions? If I am the one who is carrying the flag and the advert here in the demonstration saying, let's clean the rivers. First, before you grab it and you go out, ask yourself, how am I taking care of my rivers, therefore my veins, my blood, my water, my waters of creation, my saliva, my tears, my sweat? How am I? How am I doing with this? Am I am I putting toxins here? So if you change that, you change the way the rivers are going to behave. And once again, it sounds too magical, but it's simple. And yes, it demands a big change. It demands, and the more people who do it, the easier, the quicker the changes out there. But all I'm saying is that if we start considering the way, just these 4 elements, as I said, just without going too deep, but let's say air, water, earth, and fire, and you think how these elements relate to who you are, and just you, not out there, not the fire there. No, okay, so what's the fire inside me? What is the fire? What is the water? What is the earth? Okay, the earth is my solid body, this body that I can see. If I want to change the Mother Earth, if I want to help her, help yourself. How do you do it? Be more conscious in the way you behave with her, in the way you eat.
I was just having an experience this morning, thinking about how much we're at the computers and realizing that I have this dry eyes because we're staring, we're not blinking and keeping that flowing, and also about not drinking enough water and being dehydrated. Just right there, 2 really simple things,
Simple. Very simple. Yes.
Yeah.
Anthar, I have a question for you, and this is something that comes up again and again, because obviously you do a lot of work with people and you run a lot of workshops and things. When we as a human race have a good day and everything's vibrating well and everything's sitting well in our systems, it's very easy to function. But when people have a bad day, when stuff just doesn't seem to be going right and the shadow side comes up and you want to outburst at people but you don't, how do you share with people how to deal with days like that? Because obviously it would be lovely to spend all your time in that blissful state, but human nature is that this stuff comes up, and often it comes up to teach us lessons and to show us our shadow side so that we learn how to work with it rather than against it. But what advice would you give on that?
Well, I think one of the things that I realized since I was a child, because as a child I was put into a monk's school. So I was into a traditional Catholic school when I was young. It's a very common thing in Colombia. And therefore I learned all this about all the masses and all the ceremonies they were doing, all the things that I was meant to be replying, and so on. And I realized one thing very important, which is, and again, without let's say taking over any ideologies or philosophies or religions, just as a personal view, because I was there, I realized that they were kind of repelling this dark side. And there was some, well, dark side, no, as a like, dun, 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 no, like really, just look, here is about 5:30. In about maybe an hour, she comes, the moon comes, darkness comes, cold comes, different winds come, and the animals and the insects of the night come. Of course, if you were outside in an amazing sunny day, the night comes and it becomes a little uncomfortable because you go, oh, it's getting chilly. Oh, let's go back into the safety of your home and the warmth of your home, or light the fire, or all these elements, right? But let's say, actually, my friend, you been put in a time machine and you are like 5,000 years ago. There is no that house, there is no even fire, whatever. You are just there with what you have. So what you have at the end, you see, what, as we've been taught, the Father, Son going, and then the Mother Moon coming. So you can see it in life happening, in a daily life.
Mm.
In a daily life, we recognize, let's say in our word, the positive and the negative. But that, let's say those moments of confusion, of darkness, of not feeling so good, like that, like if you were, some of the practices of the spiritual practices here of the Americas involve lots of that. Some people think that some of these practices are too intense and that we are barbarous and like, why are you doing this suffering stuff? But actually it's because we are being taught to face these things, and therefore when you ask me what could be a clue for that, the first thing that I will say is never to repel it, but to welcome it. So acknowledging that you are passing through these moments that might not feel or look or seem quite interesting and nice and happy, but instead of repelling it, taking it as an opportunity to really explore all the darkness of yourself, all the darkness seen not as a bad thing, but just as the counterpart, those things that you don't know of yourself, because for some reason you are feeling fear, for some reason you're feeling doubts, for some reason you're feeling confused. But without welcoming it, we won't understand it. We won't upgrade ourselves, because we're given the opportunity to feel like that so that we can maybe do things in our life to feel better. And when we start doing these things, and when we start transforming the life, which is what we are talking here as a main topic, actually, we say in our tradition here, we say amaneció. So amaneció is like, it's a beautiful, in the language of Castilian, which is the language of the Spanish that we speak. There are lots of poetical ways of describing things that I always miss to find the way to say in English. Because when we say amanecer, it's like amaneció means like the dawn, the sun rising. Mm-hmm. So the moment when you felt it was so dark in your life, that finally in that darkest point of your life, boom, amaneció. So I guess the important thing is to remember that life is a transitional moment, has a lot of sun, has a lot of abundance, has a lot of outside, but also has a lot of inward and a lot of obscurity and inwards. So I suppose the best way is to not. Well, actually, there is a beautiful phrase that I would like to leave with this, which is the human asked for light, and then shadow was created. And the more light that he was asking, the more shadow he was projecting.
I love.
So never to forget that, it's not. Actually, if it's possible, if you allow me to say a brief story of this, because it's really beautiful. One day, well, there is it's a part of a longer story between the sun and the moon. But what happened is that when we think about them, we see them as great ancestors and great beings that are there with a massive purpose and reason. But when we think about them, we know scientifically that the Earth is rotating, all that. But seeing it in other ways, we see the fire coming up and going down, and then the more coming up and going down. And you think, oh my God, we as humans are so naughty and so like we want to always be doing something different. And imagine if they say, okay, Theo, you are going to be going around from 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. and you, Luna, you're coming the other time onwards, and that's it for the rest of your life. And you go, oh, well, thanks. I mean, that is, it's like we as humans, no, I also want to go and I also want to change. That's how we are, but that's part of our nature. But one day, it said that the moon and the sun were doing their usual, just going round and round. And one day there was a comet, and a comet was passing by. The moon and the sun were always looking at the stars, were always looking, and they were always there. They were just in the same place, and that's it. It seemed like everything was in order. But among this order, a comet is passing. And they were like, who's that? It's like, look, he's just moving. He's just like traveling. And then the comet was passing by. And he was like, hello, moon, how are you? How are you doing? And then she was like, well, going round and around, you know me. And he was like, oh, aren't you just bored with that? It's like, look, I'm free. I mean, the creator just made me to be a continuous traveler and travel the universe and delivering messages everywhere. I don't even know where I'm going now. He just blew on me and sent me, and look, I'm just going somewhere. So I don't even know when I'm going to see you again. But, okay, good luck. Good luck. Enjoy your roundiness. Oof, amazing. See you later. Oh, man, that moon was like, oh, God. And then that night, she was like, oh, my God, I think I want to go around somewhere else. It's like, I've been doing this forever. Come on, I deserve to just go around for a bit or somewhere. So then next time, she managed to say to the creator, I need to speak with the sun. Can you make an eclipse, please? And then he was like, okay, then he make an eclipse. And then, boom, they met. As you know, the eclipse is very short. So she knew she had that moment to say anything she had to say to him and him to her. So she said, hey, I just want to go around, go for a bit somewhere else and stuff. So can you just cover me? Can you just pretend that you're the moon somehow? I don't know, just do something. And then I'm going around just one day. I'm just going to go to visit my cousin there in Ganymedes in Jupiter. And just going to talk to her and see her around and stuff. And I just one night, and he was like, why are you doing? No, I don't know. What if the creator realizes about this? No, this is going to be terrible. And then, come on, just do it. Let's do like a longer day or something like that. Invent something like that. I'll be back. Okay. Then she went. And he said, please don't come back. Okay. And then she went. And then she did it. And she did it as she said. She went for one night. The next day she came back. So one day had passed. And when she arrived back into the Earth, into this our planet, the Earth was completely dead. The water was dry, the mountains were dry, the animals were dead, people were dead. And she was like, what's going on, son? What did you do to everything? What is everything? What is everyone? And he was like, well, I've been waiting here. I don't know. You told me to wait. They hadn't realized that one day for the moon and for the sun represented 100 days in our human time. So she left for one day, but that represented 100 days of only sunshine. So the sun evaporated all the water, destroyed everything got dry. And ever since, the moon said, I'm sorry, creator, I will never do this again. And they promised to each other that they will keep the balance amongst all of us to be born again. So that's a story that brings us this beauty of universe, the nature, life, everything has also an order and has a way of correlating, and it's important to find this meaning. And so if we deny the moon, look what will happen. What if we only want the light? And no, we only want the light and we want the beautiful, the darkness. No. What are we talking about? Look what happened to the earth. So yeah, sorry.
I always think of it as the peaks and the troughs of life. So, with the ups and downs we have in life, you have this wave motion, but actually, what else does that represent? It's the image of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
It means you're alive. When you're flatlining,
yeah,
not anymore.
Absolutely.
So it always reminds me about that. And I love those dark times.
Yeah.
Like now in winter, getting dark early. It's kind of the gestation period for all these ideas and things to just germinate.
Hibernation.
Out in spring. I like it.
Absolutely.
Anthar, we've got lots of questions coming in.
Yeah, lots of questions, so maybe we need to keep them a bit shorter so we can ask them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Simon says, what one piece of advice would you share with someone who is just beginning on the path to understand about living with nature?
Okay. I think the guidance for life, I think, it always relies on purpose. As long as we have a purpose clear of why we're doing what we're doing, then all the actions that we will trigger will be guided by that purpose. If there is no purpose, we might get tangled in the doing, wanting to do, but we will always feel that we don't, as much as we're doing, we don't understand the why, or we probably don't even feel that things are changing because we're not guided by purpose. So I think if nature is the way we want to go, well, it's like obviously the way for everyone to go, but those who choose is to just dedicate and consecrate themselves to dedicate their life to the mother, is spending more time with the mother, going to different areas of the mother and maybe ask for guidance so that you can clearly see what is the purpose of your life and how can you help and how can you bring actually purpose to those actions that you will do. If in your case is helping nature, if you have a purpose, then that purpose will avoid you to think if it's going right, if it's going bad, if it's, the numbers are right. It doesn't matter. As long as you're following your purpose, then everything you do makes sense. So just have a clear purpose is what I would say. And that takes time. That doesn't just come like just go to a ceremony somewhere and then no, it takes time. But actually, just to complement that, because when we purpose, I mean, mentioning that word will take us here for many hours talking about purpose.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
Shelley has just said, but how do you find your purpose?
Yeah. So what I would say is purpose. We've been seeing our purpose through the things that we do in our life. Okay. For example, many times we think that now that I like nature or I like spirituality, all the things I used to be or do are irrelevant and they are, I don't need any of that. Well, actually, no, they are part of our purpose, because if you invested, for example, for instance, if you invested lots of years studying something, then you spend lots of years working in something that maybe you hated at the end, but thanks to that, you develop a skill with that. All the things that you liked over your life path lead you to a moment where you finally make a decision and you finally make a shift. You change things. But then the problem normally is that when we make the shift, we tend to, as I said earlier on, to push everything that we think we are not anymore. But actually, when you think clearly and you are grateful for the things that you've done, even if you work in a bank or you work in engineering, in filming, whatever you did, you might think, oh no, now I'm a spiritual, so I don't need. No, it's the opposite. Look at what you guys are doing. if without the filming, without the cameras, without the technology, all this project just wouldn't be known by all these people, and I probably wouldn't be talking here from Colombia. So it's not about denying our talents, our gifts, and thinking that because they are not quite spiritual, then they are irrelevant. Actually, if we think a little bit deeper on what we've done, at least we will know what we don't like. And that's already something super great, because we know what we don't like from that. But maybe now it's time to then ask, maybe I can use a camera differently. Now I can use the camera to bring a message to the world, not to create a TV commercial for a corporation that I hate. Just now, so it's about purpose. Finding the purpose is acknowledging all the gifts that we got in our life, and obviously all the new ones that begin to land. And at some point, when you cook something, you put carrots, potatoes, tomatoes, and everything. At some point, the soup will be ready. So yeah.
Nice. I mean, actually, you said, how do we find our purpose? What she actually said is, what is our purpose? Humankind. What is our purpose here? Life on Earth.
Oh, well, I think that's a more complex one, because it's like, we're very different. But
for you, what is?
For me, yes, right. My purpose in putting in a phrase is taking care of the seeds of the new time. That's basically.
Can you repeat that?
Taking care of the seeds of the new time.
That's beautiful. I love that.
So exactly, when you put that into in a more logical way, then it's quite deep. I still asking myself and finding more answers. But what guides me is, how can I take care of the seeds of the new time? So anything I do for the seeds, for the humans, for the children, for nature, for anything that represents the seeds of life, and that's what guides me.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I've had one that's been sitting on my lap for a while. Can you please tell us how you got your calling, Anthar? Also from Simon.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, because it brought me back into a memory I have, which was very simple. But when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and as I mentioned before, I used to. I mean, I was put in a school, Catholic school with monks and all that. And then one day, we had. I mean, in one of the years, being a child, 8 or 9, we had. I think it was history. I don't know if it was history or geography. The ones who speak about Darwin. That we had that topic, and then afterwards we had religion. And on that particular day, in the first one, geology, as I said, I can't remember if it was geology or history or what. He was talking about Darwin theory and talking about we come from the monkey and all that stuff. And it was a bit bizarre, but okay. And then afterward we had religion, and then he was talking about Adam and Eve, that we were coming from Adam and Eve, and I clashed. I couldn't. I was like, so I remember saying to the teacher, hang on, so do you mean Adam and Eve were a monkey before? Or how did that happen? And I was like, I don't understand. Or did you mean, I mean, what is the monkey and all these things? So at that moment, I knew these two guys are not, because they couldn't answer me.
Yeah.
So I went to the other one and I said, so where is Adam and Eve? So do you mean we come from the monkey and then they became Adam and Eve? And they, oh, no, that's different. That's another thing. I was like, what do you mean? You're telling me that's where we come from, and you're telling me that's another thing. It's like, hang on. So that was, I could say, in kind of resuming my story, that's how I started to question myself. And therefore, in my early teenage, I start, I don't know, from my lineage, many things have been connected with the caring of the plants and things like that. So very easily and organically, I became interested into ancient schools of wisdom. So like Rosicrucians, well, different Hermetic schools. And I was always the child. I was the child in these schools. And one day in one of these gatherings, they brought an elder, and that was the first time when I would see an elder properly, and then they all he spoke completely connected me and completely made all these terminologies and all this information that I was reading in books or whatsoever, it just completely faded, and I felt like I had found the origins, and that's how I was introduced to the world of our ancestors here and all the practices. And I was around 14 when that happened, so it started quite early, and I'm very grateful. And I suppose the more we can do this, it doesn't matter if people have a religion or a philosophy. It's not about that. Reconnecting with our mother, goes far beyond philosophies and things created by humans. So that's how it started, and I haven't stopped. Like the elders say themselves, we don't know anything. We are only still learning how to crawl and see if we can eventually know how to walk. But those who are thinking or feeling that they are already running and ready to open wings and fly, the grandmothers always say, stop it right there and go back and learn to crawl. So
Great.
that's
Yeah, nice. And so we've have you been to Anthar Sound Healing?
Yeah,
I'm sure you have. Yeah. So we've both experienced, and many people have experienced your tribal sound healing, and you travel a lot with this, and it's a very big part of your working life. So I kind of wanted to ask you to talk about the ability of using a sound to heal.
Yeah.
Because certainly my experience, I have what you would call dodgy knees, arthritic knees. And I'm often given sound healings, but this was one of the occasions where I was just able to lie down and receive, and I had incredible pain come into my knees. I mean, really accentuated.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me how the power of sound, when it hits a block or an energy block, which is what body damage is, that it was clearing it. It was amazing.
Totally. Yeah. Well, sound in my case is also big part of my history, because I come from a big lineage of musicians in my family. So like my grandfathers, great grandfathers, great aunts, great uncles, we still when we meet each other, all we do is playing, and they have these books with songs, and even if you don't know them, they pass your guitar and we are all playing and singing, and it's so beautiful. And my family has always supported me, my parents, and supported me so highly always with the music. Although I've never studied in a school. Hang on, I've got. Can you still hear me fine? Yeah, it says something here about the microphone. Yeah, okay. You hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what happened was that I developed this music, I don't know, connection, very easy. I don't know, I just knew how to play things, and since when I was 8 years old, I did my first concert in a school, in primary school. I was just already playing some songs in the organ, and my father used to bring me the organ to the school and things like that. So music it's been always a big part of my life, and but then ceremony obviously became a big part of my life as well. And I guess when we are musicians, we tend to ask a lot, many silly questions, such as like, oh, how can I play this better, or how can I make a clever composition so that catchy thing. I don't know, all these things that happen here in this little brain that we have. And then one day I was so surprised that by the fact that that the elders will be able to take us so deep only with a drum, or only with a song, or only with a rattle, or whatever they were using. And that was my main question, like, where is all this coming from? How come that we invest and spend so much of our life and our everythingness into creating a masterpiece because I want to, but actually he just sings that little song, and it's just like I just go, I don't even remember where I went. And exactly. So that made me question myself, something is happening here. And that's how I started to obviously explore more the ceremony side of music, which I find this very special, because when you ask an elder who is a musician, ceremonial musician, and then you have this question, like, because this has happened in the past, like questions such as like, how did you create that song, or how did you know that song, you said that was the song of the frog, and why, how did you create it, or where does that come from? And he said, well, the difference between being a musician, what we call it, there's two words in the Spanish language, which is músico, as a musician, but also we have a second one, which is musiquero. So músico and musiquero. Músico, musician, is the one who creates music and uses inspiration, creativity, and creates a beautiful piece of music. Musiquero is the one who plays the melodies and the songs that has always been played in the same way. Nothing has changed. Nothing has been added. Nothing has been created. That's a musiquero. So that's different. If you take a traditional song and you say, no, this is a traditional, no, you made a composition in guitar, you made an arrangement, that is a musico. That's a musician. The musiquero is the one who kept exactly as everybody has sung it before. So all these things came into my life, and I became interested in the healing arts as part of my life and all that. So they both collided, the whole use of sound, ceremonial sound, and healing, and all these things. And it became my biggest part of my life, as you, Luna, mentioned earlier on. But, when I went to the UK for the first time, that was 17 years ago. And I didn't know your ways. I didn't know about, for example, diplomas, certificates, insurances, all these things that you guys need there in order to be able to work with these things. I didn't know English at all. So I went like, oops, like I haven't thought about this. And you have insurance, yeah, you have certificate, you have diploma. I was like, what is all that? And it's like, well, I've got the knowledge, I can do things, but I don't, So one day, after, long story short, after I learned English and blah, 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 a few years after, this course came up as a sound practitioner. And I was like, they were giving diploma. It was one of the first schools doing this. And I was like, oh my God, so maybe now I've got some funds to be able to do this and all that. So maybe through that, if I have now the diploma, I have all these things, then I can use that to bring the rest of things with me. And that's basically what I've been doing. So I decided to enroll on that. And when I finished the course, then I immediately started. And that was maybe about, I think maybe about 11 years or 12 years. I can't really remember right now. Yeah. And ever since I haven't stopped. And that really inspired me to start sharing more about these things. But it actually took me to a point where I was asking myself, I was using things like bowls and gongs and all these things. But a big part of me was like, and where is all the sound and the music that I used to do? Like in ceremony and all these things that I was using. So I realized, because of following the pattern of the teachings in the school, I became what let's say a conventional sound healing is, like using these bowls, using these things, frequencies and stuff. But then I ended up giving all that away in a way, and incorporating more of the elements that I had previously with me. And I feel like in a way I developed like my own style through it, and I managed to combine history, stories to people, different instrument sounds, and bring the same thing that you can get in a ceremony through that.
So were you stripping it right back to wood, bone, stone?
Yes. Yes,
literally, exactly. Really the sounds of the elements.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and yeah.
Can I just ask you, keeping on the sound piece, so when you do inipis, sweat lodges, or other medicine ceremonies, you're singing these songs, you're singing these old prayers, like you said, that have not been interrupted for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
is that connecting? So in order to connect with spirit as well as to anchor, is it kind of doing this?
Well, it's more, I would say in other simple words, which is, let's say, if I say, Luna, could you please come here? You will understand, and you, Luna, will come.
Yeah.
Kindly. But if I say, Luna, puedes venir aquí, por favor? So I said the same in Spanish. You will go like, what did you say? What did he say? Oh, hang on, I don't know what he's saying. Right. So what happened is that when you speak in this language, what you're doing is calling in all these beings that are aligned and that understand exactly that lineage and understand these things, so they are there. So let's say, putting it in a context of a ceremony, for example, a ceremony, this what we're doing is a ceremony, which is like, we first say hello. Actually, we knock the door here with a button, and then you answer, and then you open the door. Then we greet each other. We say hello. Then we sit, and then we chat, we talk. And later on, we're going to be saying thank you. And we will be saying goodbye, have a wonderful life. And then we close the door and we leave. That's a ceremony. And that's exactly what happens in another context, right? We sing because we are knocking the door. We therefore sing because we're saying hello.
Yeah.
Then we sing because we are asking you to talk to us and to help us in what we're doing. And then we sing because we say thank you so much. And then we sing because we're closing the door. And then we sing because it's time to go. So it's simple. Same thing, going to visit your sister or your mother is the biggest ceremony.
Fabulous. Well, good. I'm glad we got in the bit about sound. Some more questions.
Thank you,
Anthar.
Oh, there's so many questions here. Joanna says, I'm very grateful for the wisdom of your elders and your sense of humor, Anthar. Linda says, where can I find out about your sound gatherings? Well, I put the links to all of Anthar's web pages at the top of this conversation thread, and we'll post them again at the end. Lorraine says, Anthar, lovely to have you with us. Have you heard of the Kogi Mamas from Santa Marta?
See, yeah, they are big teachers of our path. They are one of the big teachers that have come to different areas of Colombia to share with us and to teach us the word of our ancestors. So they are big part of this rebirth the spiritual rebirth that we've been experiencing as younger generations.
Anthar, we haven't got the name of this person. It says, I'd love to ask you about the Tambora Foundation, especially about the sacred kusmis that you are building to pass on and share indigenous wisdom. Please tell us more.
Okay. Tambora Foundation is a foundation that I created in 2011, and with the aim of following the purpose, which is taking care of the seeds of the new time, or in other words, as the foundation says, preserving and cultivating the ancient wisdom for the future generations. This foundation has been passing through different stages and different changes, and I relaunched it last year, kind of updating the actual foundations of the foundation, which involves different areas, such as like not only the ancestry, but very important things that are happening nowadays, which, for example, just very briefly, I will mention, one of them is definitely cultivating ancient traditions, and this includes the plant medicine uses and stuff like that. So kind of cultivating it in an ancestral way, so that it's guided by elders who have been part of this generation, and is respectfully used. Other pillar is the eco-construction and eco-building and bio-construction, and kind of more conscious ways of living, basically, and construction. Another one is touching the ground of the sound, as we were talking. So ancient sound and sound as a healing tool for the future generations. And the other one, very important one as well, which is consciousness towards good ways of cultivating a more healthy food and more healthy ways of taking care of this body, of this territory, as we were saying. So the Tambora Foundation is basically doing these things. I'm really happy to mention that this year I managed to start at a school, which was a dream that I had for many years, but I hadn't had the funds to be able to do it, which is supporting 3 elders from different lands. And I managed to create what is called a School of Ancestral Wisdom, or Escuela de Sabiduría Ancestral, which basically is supporting 3 different elders on a monthly basis. And with these funds, we managed to pay, because they've been, unfortunately, I mean, we haven't touched here the ground of some of the difficulties that we suffer here in Colombia. And many of these elders are not able to be in their own territory, talking also about territory. So they've been displaced and they live in very dodgy areas and different things like that. So this helped me to give them a little bit better life and help them to live in a little bit better conditions and pay for them in a monthly basis. And then they come and teach twice a month in a beautiful space, but it's actually in the city. So the idea was to create this school as a way of sharing with the people of the city in a city context, like 3 hours on that day, without going too long or anything like that, because taking care of people's daily life and the obligations they have. So projects like this are developing really beautifully. And at the moment also I've got a project I'm still on it, which is like getting all the right funds and everything to get a piece of land here, where the idea is to do a construction of different buildings to continuing the teachings of these traditions, where the elders will be like, I'm calling it like a second, how would you say this, like a second, let's say like a second branch of the school, which is in nature, where therefore these people from the city and people who are coming to the school, they can come to nature and experience in the depth what the ceremonies are like and what is to really be doing the work right in nature. So I'm working on that at the moment, and finding all the resources and everything. And just helping to bring people. Also, I've been bringing groups here to Colombia every year. So I run retreats here like for 2 weeks. It's normally in February, beginning of February. And inviting people. It's been already 8 years of doing this one. And then people come here for these 2 weeks to spend time with the elders. We travel a lot. We go to different sacred sites. We do lots of ceremonies in nature. It's a really, really special and deep time. I call it more than a retreat. More recently, I've been calling it a pilgrimage, because really it's a pilgrimage that we do around 3 main, massive, beautiful sites. So the Tambora Foundation is doing all these different covering these different areas. And the idea to create this new land, this new project, is to create it as a sort of permaculture school. So it incorporates learning. For example, we will build eventually, when this all flourishes, a sacred maloca, or a sacred house of thought, which means learning how to build or be part of a project of how to build an ancestral house. But also we will build other things like a kiosk or like compost toilets, or all these things that this world involves. And the idea is to bring experts from different parts of the world, lots of friends and people that I've been meeting around, to come and teach. And it's like in a triangle of fairness, which is basically the person who comes to teach the workshop. He gets obviously the money that we're raising for that. The people get the knowledge, and the land gets the building. So that's more or less how we're building the whole project. So if anybody's interested, really, really welcoming to that.
I'd just like to say to you, Anthar, bravo, really amazing for supporting your elders. I really love that. And I guess to say to anyone watching it, one, it's so important for us to be supporting our elders who are doing, good work, or they've done good work in their lives. So anyone who's watching, who feels they want to support Anthar in his work, let us know, or contact Anthar direct.
Kate's put the website of the foundation in the chat.
The other thing is that I was going to say was our Heart Fund, which is for to donate out to various of those speakers and their things they're raising money for. So you can do that just on the donation button if it's simpler.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthar. Sandra says, I've had a very strong guidance to work with the elementals. Is there anything that springs forth to help start me on this journey?
Mm-hmm. Well, I highly suggest that there is a knowledge that can help to weave the elements, which is called the medicine wheel. The medicine wheel is like a map of teachings. It's a map of understanding of where we are in our life and how these different elements can support us in our understanding and in how to be better with ourselves and the world. So there is so much. Well, like an elder says, these days there is so much information but very little wisdom. So information is things that we read, is a book that you read, is a YouTube video you watched, all these things. But the idea with this, especially when we're seeking and we're searching for things, we tend to get to the information side, meaning as in like you read it, you think you'll know it, and then you pile it up with other information that you read before, and so on and on and on. But when do we embody that information? When do we practice it? So it's not until we practice it that it becomes wisdom. That's why he says there is so much information but very little wisdom, because wisdom takes time. Takes knowledge, takes experiences, all that. So if you are in the path of understanding the elements, the wisdom of the medicine wheel is a very deep one that, and unfortunately, let's say in a way, with so much information on the internet, you might end up with this information, that information. So it's difficult to discern which one is the right one, which one is the all these things. So I would also suggest don't get lost with that, but feel and see, discern which one is the one that works with you, and stick to that. Just stick to that. Give yourself the chance to stick to something, and not with a name. Not with a name of like, in 1 year I must be like really good. Maybe not, maybe yes, but just do it just for the whole sake of sticking to that and see the results over years. And this wisdom certainly is going to make you understand what the fire and the spirituality means, the water with your emotions, the earth with your body, the air with your mind, and all these very brief things that I probably mentioned here at the beginning. They bring so much greatness, but wisdom will be only coming through your purposes, through your word, through your actions, only when you become a little tree, and a little tree doesn't grow from one day to another. So it's patience. I would say the cherry in the pie for the last of that word is be patient.
Yeah, nice.
Be patient, yeah.
And isn't that the same with so many things? Being discerning is to we take a bit of this and a bit of that, but to take what resonates for us. It's going to be different for everyone, but that's what's meant for us, is when it resonates.
Absolutely. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Anthar, Carly has said, how would you guide someone new to the consciousness in the beginning stages when awareness comes in? Do you remember that stage where you're feeling almost crazy, watched all the time, like there was a collective breath waiting almost? I encounter that quite a lot with the newly awakened. What song would you recommend to give them? I assume them it's normal, etc., and give different music if want of listening. Want is a big one, isn't it, though?
Yeah, I think once again, I believe the simplest answer I can give to that in a way is when when we're thinking too much, is because we've gone too far from our heart. We are already lost. We are cluttered here. We are already gone. So our mind can easily be like a kite. So if you don't hang to the kite just flies away, and then bringing it back is very difficult. So I believe that when we are in this path of awareness or consciousness of all these things that has so many words, but the only thing is that we know it. We have something that symbolically or metaphorically we speak about the heart, and we speak as the center of the origins of the true feeling, and that is very true. The thing is that sometimes, like the elders teaches us, for example, there is an order for the manifestation of that true feeling that we felt here, and it's like we feel it, but even before we felt it, we know it. Here we know it, I know it, but then I have to filter it through here to discern just a little bit. So this is why I don't have my hat here, but this is why we use a hat, and then that space between your hat and your head is the space that you've been given to think, so you don't think too much. So that's why we put, for example, something to tighten our forehead, is to keep our kite steady, is to put our heart to remember how much space we got to think. Because otherwise, if we can remove our heart in those moments, or we remove our chumbe, then our mind goes too far away, and it never becomes, never manifests. So let's say the flow according to our ancestors is, you know it, think just a little bit, and then manifest it. But because they say what is happening in these modern societies is they have inverted it. So you know it, then you do it, and then you go, oh, if I had just thought about it a little bit. So we inverted the position. So what they're saying is, think a little bit, just enough, and don't get too lost. So when you're thinking too much about consciousness, you're watching too many documentaries, reading too many books, conspiracy theories, it just gets cluttered, that you kind of lost it. So my let's say word on that is return to here. That first feeling that you had of what you wanted to do, what you wanted to change, what you wanted to do better, and then there you will remember the answers, and then that will declutter so much information here. And in terms of music, that is difficult to say. I mean, I wouldn't mention a particular let's say playlist or something like that, but from my personal view, yes, indeed, life is like it's like a roller coaster. The roller coaster sometimes is steady, sometimes it just goes mad, sometimes goes like it makes you scream so much, and sometimes it makes you feel so good and stuff like that. And behind all that, there is a whole playlist of beautiful music happening. So it's important that, for example, I tell you, and maybe I recommend it. When I want to feel so happy, for example, I just put salsa. And I just put salsa on and go on, and it just makes me dance even with the mop. And, it's the best. But obviously every moment of life deserves this. But sometimes if we are experiencing the deepest, darkest, intense moment, use the music as a medicine to maybe help you to lift you up a little bit, instead of using all the depressive music and all the intense music to actually drown you down even more. So yeah, it's a complex formula that I would say, but certainly music has a lot to do in that part.
I have a question for you, Anthar. With obviously with being raised in a Catholic school with monks, but how do you pray? What is prayer for you? Yeah. So, for example, is it wishing for something, or are you in gratitude as if that thing you're praying for has already happened? What is your way?
Yeah, praying is a whole chapter of life as well. Learning how to pray is such a big thing, because it certainly is not about repeating a script. And I mean, it's fine as well if that works with you, but for me, it didn't. I had to just change the script. It's basically when you watch a film, you just don't like it, and you change for a film that you like it. It's just simple as that. Sometimes for some people, the other script does the work. For me, it didn't. So I had to find my way. And in this way, I realized that a deep word came on it, which is, and it's actually related to something very common that we do in our life, in a daily life, in fact, which is pagamento, which is paying, spiritual payment, which means normally we probably attribute praying as a way of asking for something. And that's the common thing. So you say, let's pray. You go, oh, Jesus, or God, or Buddha, or Mother Earth, or Great Spirit, or whatever you call it. Please help me with this, help me with that. You know, I prayed and then I sang and everything. Yeah, great. Okay. But then the whole teaching and the whole learning of how to pray begins. It's a whole life journey. And it reassembles, as I say, a very common thing that we do in a daily life, which is, let's say Theo says, oh, I want to buy a better camera for our next documentary. So then you go to the shop, you go to Jessop's, and then you go there and then you go, okay, what's the best camera you have? And they say, this one. And then you go, how much does it cost? And they say, a lot. And you go, oh my God, okay. So first thing you go, you can go like, okay, give me a camera. Well, they say, okay, but give me the money. Then they just say, well, I don't have it. So, okay, thanks. So then you go home and then you go, okay, how am I going to get this money? So I'm going to do this project and I'm going to get a loan from here. I'm going to do this. And whenever I raise this money, and whenever you had it already, you go back to Jessop's and you go, can I have the camera, please? And they say, yes. Can I have the money? And you go, okay, have your money. And they say, okay, have your camera. And that simple action that we do probably mostly in a daily life is exactly the same way that we do in spiritual. So if you are going to ask for something spiritually, you first need to think how you're going to pay for it. What are you going to give away from you? What good actions are you going to give back before you even asking for something? Because as if you notice, we became this culture where paying is something that you only do with money and cards and I don't know, even PayPal, all these things these days. And what about the spiritual? How many things had you been given? Just think about it right now. Think how many things that I ask for in a more emotional, spiritual way or whatever, have I asked and they were all given? Well, some of them maybe not, but many of them have. When did you go back to give thanks? I mean, you go to this amazing mountain, I don't know, you go to Ben Nevis in Scotland, for instance, and you go all the way up to Ben Nevis, and then you go to Ben Nevis and you go, oh my God, that was so difficult. And you get here and then you go, okay, Great Spirit, it was very difficult. Can I ask you for a better job? I just want an amazing job and I want this, and please help me on that. Please, please, please. And then thank you, and then that's it. And then you go back to London. And then in 3 days, you get the job. And then what normally happens? Oh, that was amazing. I went to Ben Nevis and I asked for the job and they gave me the job. Oh, that's great. Where I say, did you go back to say thanks? Oh, no, that's too difficult and that's too far away. And no, that took me like a lot of energy. No, that's fine. Well, actually, we've been taught that you start getting these spiritual debts. So you start getting a big list of debts, spiritual debts, to a point that actually is so big that you can't hold anymore spiritually, that the mother kindly stopped giving you what you're asking for. And now it's not because she's bad, it's not because she's not a kind mother, it's because she's telling you, my son, my daughter, just pay some of your debts. Just go and give away some of the things that have been given to you so that I can replenish you more. And that's it. So then we have to start, some people start selling their companies for create a better world. Some people start reconnecting with their parents. Some people change their diet. Some people blah, blah, blah. And finally, at some point, poof, oh, wow, finally new things begin. Because the mother says, that's the way, son. So every time you ask for something, just pay first. So if you ask me, how did you pray? Then I say, knowing how to pray is knowing how to pay. That phrase can take your whole life. I still trying to understand it.
To understand.
Yeah.
I really like Greg Braden's The Power of Prayer, and he talks about to pray as if it has already happened. So basically, you're in gratitude. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yes.
In advance. And so for me, that's really beautiful. And when I met Brandon Bays, actually, I interviewed her for another project a long time ago, and she was saying that everything becomes, she had cancer, which she worked with, and she wrote a book about the process of clearing that using forgiveness. But she said it ended up that, you know, every phone call, every time she washed up or she cooked, or everything became a prayer, everything in her life. And I took a lot of that on. And so it's just doing things in joy, and of course not always joyful, and sometimes we forget, but it's a beautiful teaching that everything is a prayer.
Totally.
And gratitude and thankfulness. And
just to add a little phrase to that, is that this is the words of an elder. Put it in English is something like, everything that is, it has already happened. And if it hasn't happened, it's because it hasn't happened here. So that is so powerful, because what it means is that it's just literally like that. Sometimes it hasn't happened because that is the reality that you're creating. You are creating doubt. You are creating fear. You are creating the mistrust, all these things. And that's what you see in your manifestation. So that's why it hasn't happened out there, is because it hasn't happened here. So like you say, it's exactly the way that we would say here. Just make it happen here. But, you know, like when they are teaching us about conscious creation, then they said, you need to create this massive, beautiful building, and you need 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And then create the 1,000 people arrive. Oh no, but how? Well, stop it. You created doubt right in there. So that is it. It's just like, make it happen.
Into being. So I'd just like to thank everyone out there for the thousands and thousands and thousands of orders for our film package. We are so grateful.
Absolutely.
We have budget. Anthar, it's beautiful. I did some study last year with the Eagle Condor Mystery School, which was the teachings of the Andean Peruvian culture. And they talk about Ayni, A-Y-N-I, and it's sacred reciprocity. And it's exactly that. It's giving, you know, it's giving back. It's that circle of giving and receiving, that energetic exchange with nature, with anything you're doing. And it's so important. And exactly that if you just take all the time, you don't have that circle, then it stops and flow stops. It's incredible.
And we were to our group about that the other day, weren't we? About the circle of giving and receiving, and the importance of breathing out and giving, but also the importance of then just stepping back and receiving. And it's all, when you start to see money in those terms, it really changes things.
Yeah.
I just a little example of that as well, to put in some practical things that we do here. These bags are very important for our life, because they are the containers of our life. And as in a simple example, if you start putting things inside your mochila, it gets to a point that you can't receive anymore. So what do? Well, you have to put them out, giving it away to other people, so you can put new things inside. So it's exactly in the same way. And also between the people you give, like one of the ways with the people of the north to greet ourselves is by putting the leaves of the coca plant from our mochila into the mochila of the other. So if I'm greeting you, I take my leaves and I put it in your bag, and that means that I'm putting my word into your bag, and you're putting your word into mine. But then what happens is if I'm getting, because normally I get this question, people says like, where can I buy these leaves? And I said, we don't buy. What we do is, it only means you haven't visited your relatives in the last days. Because what happens if I visit my relative and I'm really low on them, I'm basically gonna greet him with a little pieces of leaves on his bag. right? As soon as he sees that, he gets his bag and replenishes mine. Yeah, and then I will do the same. And then therefore we keep replenishing ourselves, and that's the best way to keep greeting your relatives. Like, even if you need medicine, what do? Go and visit the elder. Go and visit your relatives if you need medicines. So yeah, it's keeping always the balance and putting away as much as you can to receive the new.
On that, Rasul Luisa Bravo just asked a question. What are some ways we can offer reciprocity for the fruition of answered prayers? It's a great question.
That's a nice question, yeah.
Look, recently, I live in the mountains in the high Andes. I recently moved I'm about to move to a different area. And when I was talking to the people there, they have like a little pond, and there is fishes there. There's beautiful native trees, lots of birds. And I was saying they were a little worried with the fishes, because the previous people who were there, they were actually selling the fishes. So I said, please leave them there, because the first thing that I will do in the day, and this is something that we do to greet most of the sacred places when we go and pray, for instance, is to first give as much as you can to the inhabitants of the place where you are. For example, another kind example of, if you go and visit your friend or your family members, replenish their home. If you come and arrive because you want, for example, some people think that the elders are like items that you can buy, and that you just arrive and, oh, hello, elder, nice to meet you. Can you explain me this and explain me? And they go like, did you even bring a piece of wood for the fire so we can sit and talk? You know, so this is it. If I know that I'm gonna visit my elders and he's got a fire, yes, I know you got a fire, but hello, elder, I just brought wood here with me. I don't care that you've got plenty, but we're gonna use, so I'm replenishing you. So in the same way, if we want to connect with the territory, if we want to connect with the nature, we want to connect with this, we need to be grateful with everything that exists in it. For example, simple things such as grabbing a bottle of water and go on replenishing with water some of the plants that seems a bit dry. If there are fishes in a tank, bring some food to the fishes to let them know that you care for them and that you're respectfully sharing the space with them. If you can, something I learned really beautifully, I was remembering this a few days ago. I went to Bali, invited to a gathering there 2 years ago, and I remember it was so beautiful that they do this kind of, they use a palm leaf, and then they do this weaving with it, and they create like these beautiful like flowers or something.
Yeah.
And stuff, and then they put it right in the on the pedestrian on the street, just as an offering to the ants. Just, like, so beautiful to actually just say to the ants, look, I left you some seeds here and some sweets and stuff, and that in that way you are respectful with nature, and you're saying, I'm not here to destroy anything, I'm not here to take away anything, or maybe I'm here to get away some knowledge that I'll be grateful for, but because I'm greeting you, because I'm just landing here, first and all, I replenish your home, So that is a good way to connect with the elements and everything. Always give more than you're expecting to receive.
Always give more than you receive. It's beautiful.
Anthar, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We've been talking for almost 1.5 hours. It's gone like this. We're so grateful for you for stepping in at such short notice as well, and for sharing such amazing wisdom with us tonight.
Thank you, my brother. I'm really, really happy and honored, as I said at the beginning. Really, really, really happy of your work, guys, and for this opportunity to share a little bit of my life and share with people. So thank you to both of you, and to all the people who have been helping with this. Amazing.
Yeah, there's been so many people.
Thank you so much
in the background, and we are going to be doing one more of these live chats this side of the festive season, which is going to be next Wednesday evening. Which will be the 11th of December. Have we confirmed who it is?
Well, we think we have, but it's not an absolute because she's flying the night before.
Okay, well, let's not announce it. We'll announce it in the Facebook group then, just so we don't set up any expectations that we then can't meet.
But she's fab.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be this time next week. But
a sister from another mother.
We'll go an hour earlier at 9 p.m. And the last thing is just remember that if you wanting to buy one of the physical packages, then you've only got 48 hours left, because on Friday night that comes down, and then there's no more, so that we can get them all shipped out in time for Christmas. And if you are sitting there thinking, God, those guys must have sold loads, they must have made loads, we are nowhere near covering our costs. So if you are sitting on the fence of thinking, should we buy a package or not? My heart would say, yeah, please help us out if you can. That's all I'm going to say on it.
Yeah,
so lovely to see you, Anthar. Thank you for being with us, and enjoy the rest of your evening in Colombia. And thank you to all of you that have joined us on this live call. And good night.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Ciao.